This month's Unearthed Arcana takes a very fiendish bent. I talked to Jeremy Crawford about this latest playtest material.
This month's Unearthed Arcana is themed a little bit to the fact that it's October, the month of Halloween. We decided we wanted an Unearthed Arcana with some darker elements in it, and so it is an entire Unearthed Arcana of fiendish options. And this includes both some options for players as well as for the Dungeon Master. So on the player side, what we have is some new subrace options for the Tiefling. What we did is we looked at the Lords of the Nine Hells and created a subrace that is tied to each of those lords. And the idea being that your family of Tieflings would have some connection, this dark connection to one of these Lords of the Nine Hells. And that connection will then alter a little bit the ability score bonus you get. Rather than getting the +2 charisma and +1 to intelligence that all Tieflings get in the player's handbook, you'd instead get +2 to charisma and +1 to something else, depending on which of the archdukes or archduchesses of hell your family is connected to. Also, in the player's handbook, Tieflings have a trait called Infernal Legacy. And what this Unearthed Arcana article does is give you the option of swapping that out for a different version of the trait that is tied specifically to the Lord of Hell that is a part of your ancestry. And so what it does is it basically swaps out the spells that your character would normally get from the Infernal Legacy trait for some other ones that are just right for your dark past. Now, the one Archduke of Hell who does not have one of these subraces included is Asmodeus, because what we point out is the default Tiefling in the player's handbook actually represents that legacy. And so this is instead now among these options a way for your character to instead be connected distantly to Levistus or one of the other characters of hell like Dispater and others. So this Unearthed Arcana also then for the Dungeon Master has customization options for fiendish cults. We have both options for infernal cults, so cults that are associated with the Nine Hells, and then for abyssal cults, those cults that are associated with the abyss. And what we do is we give you sets of signature spells that these various dark powers are associated with, and suggest that you give cultists those particular spells, particularly if you're using a cultist monster, like we have a cultist monster in the monster manual, and a cult leader monster. If you have a monster like that might already have some spell abilities, or you're using some other monster as a cultist, you might decide, for instance, that you have a Cambion or some other creature at the head of a cult, and if in that stat block there are spells, you can take these signature spells and swap them for the spells that are in the stat block. We also provide a new feature, an ability that the cultist can have granted to them by their Dark Lord. And so this would be an additional trait you would add to the stat block of whatever creature you're using as a cultist or cult leader. Some new special ability that's going to change how that monster functions in combat, or in some cases outside of combat. So this is a really neat way for us to drill into the fact that the different Lords of Hell are quite different from each other, and as well as the Lords of the Abyss, who are wildly different from each other. One of the things we're exploring here that we really enjoy about the Nine Hells and the Abyss is they're basically the headquarters for some of the worst villains in the D&D multiverse. These dark creatures menace all D&D worlds in some form or another. And each of them has a wonderfully distinct personality, often a different style of evil. And so these different cult options are teasing that out a little bit, giving new toys for the Dungeon Master to show that when you're facing off against a cultist of Asmodeus, it's going to feel different from that battle you have or that other encounter you have with the cultist who serves Zugtmoy or some other abyssal lord. And so that all of this together adds up to, again, this set of fiendish options where we will be walking in the dark realms in this month's Unearthed Arcana.
You can playtest that new material on D&D's own website. I'm Todd Kenrick. Thanks for watching.